Hey everyone, welcome to Meeple Bits. Thanks for joining me today. In today's how-to, we're going to tackle the game Wingspan. Designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, published by Stonemaier Games for 1 to 5 players, yes, solo mode included, with a playtime of roughly, I'd give it about an hour. Even through my first playthrough, about an hour. So with that guys, join me as we go through this setup and how-to for the game Wingspan. So before we begin, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the components that are going to come out during the course of play. We have eggs, lots and lots of eggs in many different colors, and the colors don't matter. We have resource tokens or foods to feed the birds, and they come in the variety of invertebrate, seed, fish, fruit, and rodent. For the purposes of this video, we're actually going to call these grubs, wheat, and cherries. And sometimes rats. We've got player tokens, 1 in each of 5 player colors, and then we've got food dice, which will go into the dice tower. Here we have the dice tower that looks like a birdhouse. It's meant to be 2 pieces so that you can disassemble it and keep it in the box. We have bird cards, as denoted by the blue backgrounds, bonus cards, as denoted by the green backgrounds, and then goal tiles. They are 2-sided, so to keep the game random when placing them out. Here we have the goal board, where the goal tiles will be added. It is 2-sided, so when doing the setup, you're going to choose which side you want to play with. Here we have the simple side in blue, and then on the flip side, which is green, this is the more expert version. And finally, the player board, or your tableau. This is your main play area where you're going to use to not only fill up with birds, but take the actions on your turn. So before diving into setup, let's take a quick look at the bird cards so that you know exactly what each of the areas are and what they reference. In the upper left corner is the habitat of which the birds may be placed and their food cost. Some, you'll notice, have no food cost, as well as can be placed into multiple habitats of your choosing. On the left side of the cards are the victory points, their nest type, and how many eggs they can contain when placing them on the birds. In the lower kind of right section, it'll denote the size of the birds. At the very top, you'll notice their names. Down bottom, you'll notice that if it's in white with no background, this is usually a when played card. The orangish background is a when activated card. And the pink background is a between turns card. And then at the very bottom, some fun facts about the birds. And finally, we have the Wingspan appendix. Keep this on hand, especially when you're going through your first couple of playthroughs, because it's got a lot of information about the cards, their verbiage, their iconography, as well as their different powers. So keep this to reference throughout the game. To begin setup, all players should receive a tableau or player mat, 8 action cubes of the color of their choice, 5 bird cards at random, and 2 goal cards at random, and 5 food tokens, 1 of each type. We'll go into the main play area setup in just a moment, but once that setup is complete, what you're going to want to do is then choose one of these 2 goals, discarding the other. So for example, the goal of this card here is birds with wingspans less than 30 centimeters. For 4 to 5 birds of that wingspan, I would get 3 victory points, and for 6 or more birds, I would receive 6 additional victory points. So let's choose this one as my goal and discard the other. Next, any birds you want to keep, you must pay 1 food to keep them. So if you wanted to keep your entire hand, you would need to discard all 5 food. But if we only wanted to, say, keep 1 card, it would only cost us a single food. So returning that cost to the supply, and then discard the remaining cards. Now, you'll already have the main play area set up in advance of this, so you'll have a general sense of what the goals are to kind of help you with which birds you want to keep. When setting up the main play area, go ahead and configure it in the best way possible that accommodates the players and the table that you're at. But for purposes of this, we've just sort of laid everything out. So what we have here is the bird feeder dice tower. Start by taking the 5 dice and just throwing them in there. That's going to create the pool of dice to choose from when doing that action, which we'll go over in just a moment. Create a pool of eggs for the supply and a pool of the resources or food for the supply. Create a draw pile of bird cards and a draw pile of goal cards. And now choose which side you want the goals to be on. For this one, we're going to use the more easy side for blue, and then choose at random 4 goal tiles. Then draw up 3 cards here that can also be selected when that appropriate action. And this is basically your main play area. Now we'll go over some of the different nuances as we dive into the tableau and take a different peek at the different actions. But in general, this is it. You've got your main play area here, and then your personal play area where you have your tableau. Now that setup is complete, let's take a quick look at how to play the game. The game is played over the course of 4 rounds. In each round, a player is going to take 1 action on their turn, and in each round, all players will go through their pool of action cubes, taking those actions. So what are those actions? Well, let's begin with taking a quick look at the player mat to see exactly where everything is. On the left side, you'll notice the different habitats of which birds can live: forest, grass, and water. In the upper left, this top row is also an action that can be done, which is play a bird. Additionally, there's a little icon here that denotes that when playing a bird, when paying its food cost, you may pay any 2 food to gain 1 food. So if you don't have the necessary food, you can take any 2 food to make it whichever food you need. Gain food. So when playing an action in this row, you're essentially going to be gaining food on that turn. Laying eggs. When taking actions in this row, it's about getting eggs and placing them on your birds. And then down here is draw bird cards. Taking actions in this row will allow you to get more cards. Cards may be taken from the 3 face-up cards in the main play area or from the draw deck. When taking a card from the face-up area, you're not going to replace it immediately. You only replace it at the end of your action. So on your turn, let's take a quick look at what would happen on each of these. So if I were to say, play a bird, let's say this were my action, I would play a bird in the column of which I wanted to, do. So where is my bird card? There it is. This bird may only be played in the forest. So if I were to play this bird, say right here as an example, the next bird on a subsequent turn that I wanted to play would cost me 1 egg. The third bird in any habitat would also cost 1 egg, and then your 4th and 5th birds will cost you 2 eggs in addition to its food cost to play. The first bird in a habitat does not cost an egg. So if I were to first play a bird here, but then I later wanted to play a bird in this row, I would put my cube here and then play the bird in this habitat. Again, because it's open, it does not cost an egg, but later it would. So that's your playing a bird action. Gain food. Right now, I don't have any birds taking up these slots. So if I were to say go here, this would allow me to pull 1 die from the bird feeder and collect its resource or its food token from the supply. If you have any of these rows completely filled up on the far right side, you'll notice that there is still actions to be done. So if I had all 5 birds in my forest, 1, I could not place any more birds of that type on my player mat, nor can I replace a bird. But I could still take the action by going all the way to the right, selecting 3 food, And if I so choose, you'll notice this icon. Discarding a card allows me to collect 1 additional food. Discarding any food allows me to collect 1 additional egg. Discarding an egg allows me to collect an additional card. So when doing this action, I would be able to take 3 food before then moving down the line. Laying eggs. So if I were to say, come here, I would lay eggs, collect 2 eggs from the general supply, and place them on any birds that I had in my play area. And if I were to come down here and take this as my action, then I would draw cards again, either from the 3 face up or from the top of the draw pile. Once my action is complete, I'm going to move my cube all the way left. Now this becomes important because, let's say for example, I had 3 cards in the forest and I did this as my action. I took my 2 food and then I would move over 1 to the left. Assuming that this owl card were there, I would then be able to do any when activated cards and do their actions. These are optional. As I move my cube to the left each space, and assuming I had 3 when activated powers throughout this row, it's my choice whether or not I would like to activate. They do not have to be activated as you move left. And that goes for all rows. So that's how you're going to take your turn. You're going to do one of these actions: play a bird, gain a food, lay an egg, or draw bird cards. Then the next player would take their turn. Some special considerations for each action to understand while playing the game. Gain food. When collecting food from the bird feeder, if you go to collect food and there is no more dice in the bird feeder, then all dice should be put into the dice tower and re-rolled into the bird feeder. Once a food is taken, it should be removed from the bird feeder. Additionally, if there is only dice of 1 icon, so example, let's say this invertebrate die were the only one left in the dice tower, or let's say, for example, there were 2 dice in the dice tower, both being invertebrate. If you do the gain a food action, and in the dice tower tray, there are dice of all the same icon, you have the option then to collect all the dice and re-roll them into the dice tower. When laying eggs, eggs are considered infinite supply, so in the unlikely event that you run out of eggs, use something to substitute them. Additionally, food is unlimited, so should you run out of any resources, find something to replace that resource because they are considered unlimited. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, when drawing cards, you can take them either from the 3 face-up cards or from the draw pile. You will not replace any face-up cards until you have completed your turn before the next player takes their turn. And so that's it. That's how to play Wingspan. Each player is going to continue taking turns doing 1 action on their turn until they're all out of action cubes. At the end of each round, all players will collect their tokens or their cubes. Then you're going to score the round. So then in round 1, here it says eggs in water habitat. So each card in which I have an egg on in the water habitat would score me 1 point. So let's say, for example, I had just 1 egg on a card in the water habitat. And then let's say yellow player had 2. This matters because now a cube has been added to the goal track, and so on round 2, which we're about to begin, in theory, everyone has 1 less action. So whereas in round 1, everyone had 8 actions throughout the round, in round 2, everyone only has 7 actions. In round 3, 6 actions, and in round 4, only 5 actions. Once all players have collected their cubes and you've added them to the goal track, you're going to then take all cards from the draw area here, discarding them, and then replacing them with 3 new cards before beginning the next round. Then, pass the first player token to the next player in clockwise order, and begin again, taking one action on your turn, building up your player mat and tableau, and executing everything throughout the game. Then, once you reach endgame scoring, there is a handy little score pad that'll walk you through the different scoring areas of birds, bonus cards, end of round goals, any eggs on your player mat, food on any cards, and of course any cards that are tucked underneath the birds as denoted by their powers. So that's it, guys. That's Wingspan. So let's go ahead and take, I don't know, 1 or 2 turns just to kind of give you guys an idea. And then I might also just fill up my player mat with some additional cards so that we can sort of see, you know, the engine building aspect of things and what happens when we go down the line. So for my taking turn actions, I'm going to focus primarily here on the player mat because, again, the play areas is for the most part static minus, the dice and the cards that would come up. But overall, your focus is going to be down here when taking your actions. So I've got my card here face up, and you can keep your goal cards and your bird's secret if you so choose, but for here we're gonna just hold it face up. Now this is my only bird card that I had because in setup I only choose to keep 1, but its cost to play is 3 rodent tokens, and as you guys know I only have 1, maybe 2 if I were to spend 2 others for a wild. So I really want to try to get to use this card, so let's go ahead. But I also do need some more cards. So you know what? For my first action, I'm going to draw bird cards. So I'm going to set my token down here to indicate that this is the action that I'm doing. And then I'm going to draw a card, either one from the 3 cards that are face up or from the draw pile. And I know you can't see them, but looking at the 3 face up, I don't love any of them. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw 1 card at random. And it's okay. It can go in 2 different habitats. It'll cost me 2 wheat and a random food. It's worth 5 victory points. And then his power is, when activated, discard 1 wheat to tuck 2 cards from the deck behind this bird. So if I had some food, I would be able to do that. So we'll put this in our hand, move our token to the right, and that's our turn. Then the next player would go. They would do their single action, and then around the table it would go until it came back to me. So let's say it's my turn once again. Now I do need some food so that I can try to get some birds onto my play area. So let me go ahead and come here to play to gain food from the bird feeder. And I do need some rodents because I'd like to get this guy done. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 1 rodent die that is visible in the bird feeder, and then just remove it from the bird feeder and take it out. And then move my token to the left. Again, if I were farther right with other cards, I would be able to take actions along the way. And I'll show you guys what that looks like here in just a second. So then that's my second turn. And again, other players would go and they would take their turns, coming right back around to me. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the play a bird action. So I'm going to set myself up right there. I'm going to play a bird, and I'm going to play the great horned owl. He goes into the forest habitat only, and I'm going to put him right here. He doesn't cost an egg because it's the first in that section, and I never did take my rodent from the supply last turn, so let me grab that real quick. So I've got 2 rodents, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 other tokens to use as my third rodent. So I'm going to take my 3 rodents, or here 4 tokens, pay them to the supply, and now I've paid the cost for the great horned owl. When activated, I may look at let's get a little bit closer on this one. When activated, look at the bird from the deck, and then if it's less than 100 centimeters, I'm going to tuck it behind this bird. If not, I'm going to discard it entirely. So any cards that get tucked underneath birds do count as victory points at the end of the game. So then that would be my turn. I would move this cube, again, all the way left. And then other players would take theirs, and it would come back around to me once more. So let's go ahead and show you what that would look like. So I do need more food because I've only got one. So I'm going to play the take a food action. I'm going to pull this die from the bird feeder, giving me either a grub or a wheat. And I do need some wheat for this bird here, so I'm going to take a wheat token. I'm not going to discard a bird card to get one more food. Now I'm going to move my token to the left, and now I can activate this power. When activated, look at the top card of the deck. Let's take a quick peek at this bird card. It is a 10 centimeter bird. Zoom's a little messed up right now, sorry guys, or focus rather. So it's a 10 centimeter bird, which is less than 100 by a lot. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to tuck it underneath this guy, just like so. So the great horned owl has seemingly consumed the little ruby-throated hummingbird. Then I would move my token to the left once again, and that's my turn. So let me go ahead and fill up my my playmat here, just with some random cards, so that I can show you guys what would happen, you know, as you take additional actions that have greater powers. So this one, let's put him right here, right here. Oh wow, okay, down here, and let's play one more down here. Okay, cool. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit here on my player mat. You guys get an idea that I got food and tokens over here, and I got cards over here. Okay, so now on my turn, okay, so now on my turn, when I take actions, I've got a little bit of extra powers going on out here in the world, right? So let's get rid of this die that's been used. Let's assume the bird feeder has been, used up. So next, I'm gonna, let's say it's my next action, and I do need some more bird cards, if not just to have some to discard. So I'm gonna come right here. This allows me to draw 2 bird cards, and I'm just gonna take 2 random. Let's say, got a couple more cards here. Good stuff. Moving myself to the left one. When activated, if this bird is to the right of all other birds in its habitat, move it to another habitat. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and move him all the way up here to the forest, thus giving me, on my next turn, 3 food from the feeder. Then I'm going to move left once again, and here we go. When activated, trade 1 food token for another food token from the supply. So that's pretty cool. So I do need some more wheat, but I also do need my my cherry. So I've got 1 wheat and 1 cherry right now. So I'm not going to activate that ability, and then moving myself all the way to the left. Now in this turn, I do have, obviously I would have less than this because I've got so many cards out here. But let's say I had just 1 more token left. So now comes back around. It's my turn again. Let's take some eggs, for example. So here I would take 2 eggs from the supply, and then I would place them on any birds that have an open spot for eggs. Now the bonus of this round is eggs on cards in the water, so I definitely want to get 1 egg down here, for example, and then let's just say I put another one right here. Cool. So that hopefully gives you guys an idea of how, Wingspan is played, and how as you continue to build up your player mat, your powers and actions become increasingly more valuable. So I'm going to go ahead and tear down the table, guys. That's going to do it for this one, but stay tuned here for my afterthoughts. Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that setup and how-to for the game Wingspan. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into to my thoughts, tackling first the components. The components in this game, about 90% are really good. The card stock and the linen finish is really nice. The linen finish on the appendix is even incredible because, again, I did find myself using the appendix quite often so that I could reference the different cards and their powers just to clarify, what they were. And it's really nice to have such a good quality manual in my hand. The eggs are really well done. The player cubes are just kind of standard wood. The player mats, gorgeous art. The bird art on the cards are also great. The bird feeder and the food tokens. These were, I guess, my drawbacks, and that's why I say 90% really good. So the bird feeder is just punch board, and you assemble it, and the same with the food tokens. Both of these are just punch board, and they're going to wear down quickly. Now, after having played it a good number of times for the food tokens, I can almost see a value in punchboard over something of more quality that is a token or something like that, is because when you cash food tokens on your bird cards, it's easier to stack them with punchboard than pile them along with eggs on a bird potentially. But I still would have liked to have had the option for those premium things. And again, as I mentioned, I do still plan to probably 3D print some out. But my biggest, gripe is with the bird feeder. I can see this probably falling apart as I continue to play through more and more games. So with that, my thoughts on Wingspan, I guess let me address my first playthrough and then, my later playthrough. So on the first playthrough, I did use the Swift Start pack, so to kind of just help and guide. So if you're a first-time player and you've got a recent print and it includes that Swift Start, yeah, go ahead and use it. It's helpful. Not needed, but helpful. But I guess for that first playthrough, because then you pick up the game immediately after that, a strategy is almost dictated and semi-guided for you, with the exception of you still had random goal cards. So you were given specific birds and foods to start off, but your goal and your first few actions were also dictated for you. But that could be counterintuitive to the goal. So there's a plus and minus to be said for that Swift Start. But again, it's helpful to kind of ease you into it. So that's pretty cool. My first playthrough, though, I got obliterated. I mean, the score difference between me and the next player, I think, was probably a good 30 victory points. So yeah, there's that. Not that as you're playing through, you can already see, oh man, this person's dominating, because fast forwarding to a more recent playthrough, I thought I was leaps and bounds ahead just because my tableau was almost filled up with birds. And one of the other players, for example, they had maybe half the number of birds that I had. But then when we went to score everything, the bird total was the same, like in victory points. So keep that in mind, that there is a lot of really good, interesting ways to tackle the game that just at a glance, it's hard to say who's going to come out on top. Another thing that I really like about this game is the goals, right? So because there's a good number of them and they're dual-sided, and usually what I do is I just put them in my hand, give them a good shake, and then randomly pull them out. That way, it really kind of keeps the goals fresh on, scoring additional victory points. But in addition, you can win without ever winning those goals, which is also pretty cool. So why might you want to add Wingspan to your collection? Well, you enjoy, Tableau engine builders, or player mat engine builder type games. And so let's see, another one that I would probably say is not necessarily, I guess maybe a little Terraforming Mars, yes, which is a great game, but there's also more of a big play area. But Paladins of the West Kingdoms comes to mind in a similar way, because you've got your kind of isolated area along with a main play section that you can take actions on. Here you're just taking actions within your board. So again, if you enjoy those types of games, that's definitely a reason to add this. There's a large amount of variety and strategy, another reason to add this one to your collection. The artwork and the components and the quality and the gameplay is so good. So definitely reasons to add it to your collection. Reasons why you may not want to add to your collection, though, is because if you're playing on the goal side, I think it's the blue side, then there is not a whole lot of interaction with other players, and that also is sort of just a general drawback when it comes to tableau games, is that, again, every individual player is really focused just kind of on their strategy. So you're not really handing out any take that's or doing a whole lot to mess over other players. Sure, you might take a food from the feeder that someone else definitely wanted to try to grab, but overall there isn't a whole lot of player interaction on the blue side and minimal on the green side of the goal board. Another reason why you may not want to add this to your collection, though, is, again, because you've just got a plethora of engine builders. And that's okay, because there's so many really good ones out there. But by and large, guys, I highly recommend Wingspan. I'm so excited to finally get a physical copy of this one, to be able to give it a good number of proper playthroughs. So my advice, though, is definitely pick it up, guys, because, again, it's a gorgeous game, hands down, and it plays so beautifully. And on your turn, because you're just doing one thing, it's really easy for newer players to get into. So I really do enjoy that. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. If you have any questions about Wingspan, please leave a comment down below. Happy to help out the best that I can. If you've enjoyed the video and the content, I really do appreciate the support. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, until next time, thanks so much for watching.